close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways,
Welcome everyone back to Off the Track for another podcast. I'm GTR Kicker, joined as always by my good friend DR Roadkill. What's up, dude?
Yeah, not much. Ready to do another podcast. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. But we're back, and got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got Forza Livery Guy coming on here in just a few minutes, but we're going to touch on a quick thing here before he comes on. So we got the collision model, and we also have a couple, the December update as well. So let's start with the collision model, Jason. Hey, why don't you start? What's wrong with it?
A lot. It's a good idea in theory. Like the collision model previously had left a lot to be desired. Let's put that nicely. But this current one, basically the cars kind of stick together and you get some sort of weird, awkward contact where they just don't want to separate, and small contacts, particularly quarter panel to quarter panel, front to rear. You can just throw both of you off track really awkwardly. So that's something that I'm not too keen on. And potentially, because of the lack of just smashing people into oblivion, a lot of people are more happy to go for the dive as they're not going to do that.
Yeah, it makes for pretty poor racing. I've noticed that it's just like, the cars are sticking together, which is really annoying. I know me and THR Skyline were racing the other day, and pretty much every time we came really close to each other, our cars just became like magnets, and we would get taken off the track. There's the name of the show. Yeah, no, I think it needs work. I thought that the previous model was better, and then collision assist just makes it worse. Like, just so much worse.
Yeah, collision assist is not much of an assist. I don't understand its function. I don't really see the difference between having it on and off. I've never really noticed it. I can't say that it does anything to the game to make it improved. I've been playing Forza pretty frequently recently, and yeah, I can't say that it's been an improvement at all.
Yeah, it's not that great. One thing that they did do is that now we have it like refreshes your ghost in Rivals, which is good. But the ghosts are still like broken in free play, so like you'll settle.
I was unaware of the ghost refresh in Rivals, so that's pleasant. But yeah, the free play one is, I think, the one everyone's after, because it's hard to chase those homologated leaderboards without having a ghost to reset.
Yeah, and like I was, racing in like the Forza GT around like Sebring or something like that, and it's just like, well, in free play, and I was trying to set a lap time, and it's just like the ghost car, it like either stays on your outlap or it doesn't like go to your new best time unless you beat your time on the leaderboard, just not from that session, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's very annoying if you're trying to beat that time, because if you do it in a second session, you don't have anything to race against, and that makes it difficult.
Yeah. But the menu's good. The menu looks really nice. The HUD is a little bit difficult to get used to, in my opinion, but I'm used to it now, and I understand why they did it, because they have to get ready for, the Forza race regulations. So I understand why they did the HUD the way they did.
Yeah, that makes sense to me as well. But now that the menu just seemed a little bit like, it looks nice, but it was kind of pointless. Like, the other menu was fine. I didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah, but the game looks nicer now. I would agree that the
game
looks nicer now.
So, I mean, it just seemed like a nice little pointless bonus, but whatever.
Yeah, it was a smaller update, but like, I think it was like in preparation for the next one. I know we're going to be getting content in 2019. We can't confirm that. I don't know what the content is, but we can confirm that we are getting content. We'll also be getting Forza race regulations, and apparently it's going to be like continuous. And we'll dive into that a little bit later. But first, we've got the Forza Livery Guy with us here today, joining the show. Thanks for joining us, man. How's it going?
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. Yeah. Hi, guys. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me to the show, the Off the Track show.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
We're not famous. We just pretend to be.
This is the start, though. This is the start. Today is the start. Yeah.
Of fame? Yeah, I believe that. I mean, you're here, so that means something.
Yeah.
Small moves. Small moves is what it is. Small moves.
So, first thing I want to talk to you about, Turn 10 has confirmed, and you guys probably can see it on the bottom of your screen as well. Turn 10 has confirmed that they are working on ghosting back markers in the game. I don't know when it will be ready, but we know that it will be. They are ghosting back markers. What do you have an opinion on that? I mean, do you do much racing in terms of online or anything like that, or are you just painting?
No, yeah, mainly I paint, but I've got quite a lot of opinions about racing in general. I've done a bit of racing, nothing any competitive, but ghosting back markers, that's a good idea. Unfortunately, you can't control the audience that plays this game. I mean, ideally, you would like people that are in a competitive motorsport racing environment, that would behave themselves as a back marker, but no, you get these kids and stuff like that that will, they're like, he ain't getting past me. No, I'm going to block him because I'm going to be a dick about it. So ghosting is unfortunately the way forward. It's the only way that you can negate that, that childish attitude.
I think penalties are a good step forward towards that as well. So the penalty system
indeed.
coming in is going to be great. And I hear in the works is a larger draft, like a more effective draft. And that's going to be huge because currently it's all about your pace. And I think it's going to be great for people like us that can't keep up with people like Billy Sue and Lightning. and so on and so forth. Being able to race against people with a higher skill level, that's going to improve that. And you're going to be able to learn more off somebody. I think that's going to be great for the community as a whole. But yeah, I think we're heading in the right direction, but there's still more work to be done. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think that the draft is a huge part of it as well. It's literally non-existent in this game. We can confirm that also. Turn 10 is working on the draft system. Actually, Alan Walsh let us know about that. He did a article, I think, a couple months ago. If you guys want to go check it out, it's Full Throttle Media. Go read the full article. But yeah, so Turn 10 is working on the draft, which is really good. In my opinion, for the ghost in the back markers, it needs to be a setting, though, that you can turn on and off. I don't want it to just be like, oh, it's just in the game now. If there's a lap car, it's ghosted no matter what, and you can't do anything about it. I want it to be like a setting, because especially if you're running multi-class racing in leagues, or not leagues, sorry, like community racing, you don't want those cars to ghost, because that's part of the racing.
Yeah, it's the back markers. Yeah, that definitely comes into play, particularly with, as you say, multi-class racing. But I also think the league system as well is something that could be improved. I mean, if people want to have, to dip their toe into competitive racing, a really good one to do is the leagues, like the Forza scheduled leagues, but they need to be improved a whole lot. The ranking system is abysmal. It doesn't really separate anybody good from anybody bad. Hopefully that the regulations coming in will help that a little bit, but some kind of driver rating or system to rank the drivers according to skill level is needed to make that a bit better.
The thing is, for me, how do you determine that skill level? Or what, from a development point of view, what determines that one driver's this class and one other driver's that class? I mean, obviously GT Sport has its own driver rating. Obviously, it's based on some kind of algorithms like number of impacts, off the tracks, things like that, and pace maybe. That was something interesting to find out from Turn 10, how they're going to implement something like that. What determines a driver's skill?
So all those things for sure, plus passing, I believe. So if you qualify, say, 5th, or you start 5th and you finish first, that's a good way to say that you're better than those 5 guys. So you would increase your driver ratings and so on and so forth. And like iRacing has got a system like that. It shouldn't be impossible to implement a system where the drivers get rated. And a safety rating is probably more important than a driver rating. As you want races that are going to be racing as clean as you are in the same lobby, particularly higher up. Like, it's very frustrating to have a race and you just have one guy that's just ruining your race because he's not that safe.
Here's what I think they should do for the back markers or not the back markers, I'm sorry. I read back markers, and no. Here's what I think they should do for the leagues. They should do it like GT Sport does with their sort of like daily races or something like that.
Weekly. Well, yeah, they do both, actually.
Yeah. So there's a qualifying, and then there's a race. They should do that, because right now it's basically a messed up ranking system of online hoppers. It's basically that. If they made it so, okay, you load into a race, you sit down for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, you get into a qualifying session, then, 5 laps, whatever, and then come back, load into the lobby, you can make adjustments to your car if you need to, it's like a 2-minute waiting period between the races, and then it's like a 15-minute race. Like, that's a good way to do it.
I agree. I mean, there's a lot that Forza can learn from GT Sport and vice versa, but more one way than the other. I'm not going to say which way. But yeah, I think that you're right. That a proper qualifying, a quality ranking system. Like, I remember getting to Pinnacle, and it was still the same level of racing nearly as, I think, Grassroots is the base one. It didn't feel any different. There was a lot of crashing. There was a lot of aggressive maneuvers that were really unsafe. The racing wasn't spectacular in any shape, way, or form. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. That just didn't work.
One thing I would like to mention about GT Sport is like it's how they've pretty much nailed everything out of the door. On day one, they had the online racing with the qualifying, that a really good mix-up of tracks and classes. I mean, I remember playing the first week, and even I was getting wins in the first week. The qualifying thing, the time qualifying was a really good thing to help like determine your pole position, your start position, things like that. Again, GT Sport, I'm pretty sure will come up again in tonight's conversation, because it does a lot of things right that Forza used to lead the way on, but they've buttoned like day one. So anyway, continue. So I'll shut up now.
No, you're right. That's why you're here, is to say stuff. You don't just sit there and look pretty.
The ranting will continue.
That's right. And I think that GT Sport does a lot of things right, because they've had a really strong motorsport focus from day dot, and that's like GT Sport 1, or sorry, Gran Turismo 1. Not GT Sport 1. But yeah, GT Sport's been established for a really long time, and they've had a lot of time to work out the kinks and work out the direction they want to go, and they've had a really strong motorsport focus from day dot.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're really killing the game right now as far as competitive, accessible motorsport esports goes.
That's the thing. It's the focus in the right direction. Like Forza's focused on too much fluff, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Driver suits and things that have always been, a bugbear of mine. It's like, for me, they're not necessarily jumping on the whole like Fortnite, like loot crate kind of thing going on. I know I'm doing parentheses again, but GT Sport seems to have focused on the core motorsport. I'm going to do it again, motorsport. Which is what people go to it for. It's got nice cars, it's got the scapes things like that, but nothing too fluffy, nothing unnecessary. If you know what I mean?
It's streamlined, and that it works really well.
Yeah.
They have the things that Forza could use, like tire wear models being really good, fuel strategies and stuff like that. They've got that nailed. But
the damage model needs to be fixed as well in Forza. It's very bad.
It's
either
0 or 100.
Yeah, 0 or 100. And I think I scraped someone the other day in a Forza GT hopper, went across the side of their car, and I got full engine damage from it, and I'd love an explanation. So please.
Yeah, inconsistent damage is questionable in Forza as well. When they fix one thing, something else usually breaks as well. Like, I remember they brought out the collision model, and suddenly running over curbs gave you terminal damage to your car. Like, what kind of esports ready game.
Well, they were quick
You know.
to fix. They were quick to fix that, but that shouldn't
Yeah,
happen.
no, they did. But that's what I mean. Is that, like, when you update something, you should know that that's not going to happen. Like, did they test without sim damage the entire time? It just seems very strange. Is all. A bit of an oversight on their part, I would say.
Again, this is if I can butt in here. Something we talked about before the stream started is testing. I still believe that they don't have the right people. Sorry about that. Testing the game. It's nice that they take feedback from the community, but that's just feedback. That's just keyboard warriors going, Forza's crap, do like this. They need to get people that have been that love this game, that play this game a lot, to test out the key features before pushing it out the door, rather than just letting it just like, oh, there we go, it's out the door. We're still love to hear feedback. It's something that I've mentioned. As you know, I've been lucky enough to been to certain events with Turn 10 that have been there, Dan Greenwald, people like that. And it's something I mentioned that future improvements either need a beta or they need a different quality of people to test the game. Actual Forza players, not just games testers that go, oh yeah, I can load into track, I can get in this car, press this button, yeah, it works, it's fine. People that test it under the same, same environment that you guys with your organized racing that needs to be tested. Rather than just a tick box. It needs to be tested by a wider audience of racing, motorsport-based community.
I agree. I mean, testing it in like a situation that is comparable to like community leagues or online leagues or something like that. Those sort of testing situations are the ones that are going to work, and that's when you're going to see those errors come up. Like you should have. When we did the collision model, it doesn't make sense that the damage then changed to very strange. Because why would you test a collision model without sim damage on?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't make the game. Seems like an oversight. What can I say? Just calling it how I see it.
Yeah. But one of the things is back in the way back in the day, I used to develop games myself. And from a development point of view, it's like easier for us as an audience to say, this is crap.
Yeah.
That's good, blah, blah, blah. But to fix those things or to get it tested and whatever, that means taking someone from doing something else, putting them in a room and whatever, saying, try and fix this. So it's not as easy as saying that needs fixing, because we know that from logistically, development-wise, financially, it's not as easy as people on the internet think it is to fix things.
Yeah. You don't just press buttons and change values. Totally.
No,
yeah, I understand.
But the testing element, having the right people test it in the first place, would help iron some out of those creases.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that one thing that they could do is, like, you see these games like Call of Duty and stuff like that, they do beta testing. So they literally release the game to the players, like, I don't know, some certain amount of time in advance, and they test it, like, online.
Is it select players?
No.
Pre-order. They try and draw you in by saying pre-order our game and we'll give you a beta test. But they always have other ways of getting people in it. So
yeah.
Because I believe we had a beta for Forza. There was an actual beta, but it just wasn't very long, and it didn't seem like it changed from the beta to the real game.
They have a demo.
It was no.
That's that's not the same thing.
They had the pre-order where you could play the game like 4 days early as well.
Yeah,
that was Forza 7,
but
the game had so many issues like that. There was an issue like that. The game, they were releasing the game like whilst sort of releasing the game, but it wasn't ready. So I don't know why they did that. But I mean, I don't know. It's just
One thing I'd like to say about that is like normally people that are key members of the community and reviewers, things like that, they get their review codes normally 2 or 3 weeks early. With Forza 7, for example, I didn't get mine until 2 days before.
I was told that by someone else who got it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that to me says that they were worried from the get-go. Yeah, I mean, that if they release it to community members, things like that, then it's going to get, and even though there's NDAs and things like that, I mean, it's going to get a bit of negative press, and I think they realise that because there's some reviewers of the game complaining, saying, "Well, I haven't got my code yet." You know what I mean, 40 hours before. I'm not saying, I'm not being bitter about like, oh, I'm getting my code later or whatever. I'm not complaining, but it just highlights the fact that normally, a more polished, finished product, it's, people get their hands on it a bit earlier. But again, a beta test, maybe a closed beta test, maybe like a month before, 2 months before, stress the servers, test the things that need testing, and then, I think, a definite better product for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that would do a big service to everyone, and they would look good for Forza as well. And the other thing is they need to tell us what they're doing. Like, a lot of these games, like, what they do is that before they come out with an update or whatever, they're literally, like, say, like, okay, we're working on this.
A roadmap.
And this is where we're going and stuff like that. They've kind of been doing that with their Forza monthly shows. I don't know how many people actually watch them. I only watch them just for the purpose of talking about what they're on the show, talking about what they're talking about. But, like, they should be telling us in advance, like, what they're going to be working on. All I know is that they're working on, like, race regulations. Why can't you tell us what the next car coming out in the game is going to be? Or, what is this content update they're going to be giving us? Like, when are we getting it, and what is it going to consist of?
Yes, I agree. Some more community back and forth is needed. I think. I mean, they've done huge improvements from previous Forzas where they had like zero community contact.
Yeah,
so that's positive, but just a little bit more still. Like, I know we're going to bring up GT Sport again, but just going back quickly to releases, GT Sport put back their release a number of times, but then when they released the game, it was fantastic. So I think that was the key for them, and I get that they got some backlash for delaying, but it was worth it.
Yeah. I bought a PS4 Pro just for GT Sport. On the day GT Sport came out, that's the day I bought my PS4 Pro just for that game.
The longer I play Forza, the more tempting that is.
If you've got a friend, I mean, do you guys have friends that have GT Sport, or do you have GT Sport yourself?
No, I don't have GT Sport.
I would love to get GT Sport. I mean, I know people that have it, like, not like.
But have you played it yourself though?
Yeah, I've played it myself. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
yeah. It's pretty good. They got a lot of things right. A lot of things right.
Can I just quickly touch on the live editor? For me, when the day I got it, I streamed it straight away, and like so the whole experience was fresh. I saw a bit of the live editor before it came out. There was, I think, some guys from GameSpot had like a hands-on things, but didn't really show much detail. And I literally streamed it and like messed around with it, and my jaw was on the ground. It was like GT Sport had gone to all the Forza painters and said, right, what don't you like about Forza's paint system? What would you like? What could you fix? And then they made it in GT Sport. Yeah, it's not perfect, but there's certain things that. Basically, I want GT Sport live editor. I want and Forza Motorsport live editor have a baby.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, they could both learn a lot from each other, for sure. Absolutely. Content on Forza. Really, really good. A lot of different selections and stuff like that. But just gameplay on GT Sport, nailed. Absolutely impressive.
Yeah.
So they just need to just have a baby, like you say.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they just get it on.
What about the force feedback? You said that you've been running with your wheel lately. How is the model? Like, I don't have my wheel yet. I'll be getting it in the next 2 weeks. No, I'm talking to FLG.
Oh, yep.
Okay. But obviously, I don't know if you know, but I broke my toe recently, so I didn't get on it as much as I wanted to do from day one. But I tried it today. Obviously. I can't play the clutch because I need my left foot with that. But anyway, the feedback for me, I'm no expert, okay? I'm no force feedback like physics guru. But from playing it before and from playing it now with my G29 and the PC version, it did feel better. But I can't really pinpoint why it feels better. But the road feels better. When you go over rumble strips, you feel like you got a rumble strips. I think they've paid a lot of attention to like the different settings that you can tweak in the menu. I know some of them you might feel like you need like a physics degree to understand them, but they've got
engineering degree.
Yeah, it feels a lot better than it did before. But again, I don't drive in real life, so I've got no real frame of reference. But after playing like GT Sport, Project Cars, Assetto Corsa on the wheel, Forza always felt a bit lackluster. But again, it's hard to button on what it was that was wrong. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Then I'm no expert. But I know a lot of people that got 5-tech wheels and things like that, Trustmasters, they have a lot of nice things to say about it. So GG Forza, GG. Get in there.
Okay, well, I know that I enjoyed playing my Logitech G920 on Forza recently. Previously to this update, the wheel felt uncontrollable almost. Like, it was really, really difficult. And I know that only a select few people that just, well, that and just like a lack of feel. Like, you couldn't feel the car break loose almost. Like, if the back end started to slide, you were like, oh, you have to like wait for the picture to shift before you realize that it's sliding, rather than getting some sensation through the wheel. I think that was pretty key. I know there's some guys that could still race really quickly with those settings. I don't know how the hell they do that, but they just do. So good for them. But and I think a lot of the guys I saw in on Twitter, like Muddy Gamer, for example, he didn't like the new wheel settings to begin with because potentially he didn't know how to set the settings up. Like you said, he's not a physicist.
But Forza did state that you had to relearn some things. You have to go off the drawing board and start from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, that was just his initial impression, for sure. But from what I've seen with some other people's settings and stuff like that and playing around with it, it feels a lot more controllable and a lot more intuitive. And that's the key, I think, is for it to feel like that. Because when you drive on the road, I don't know if you've ever done any kind of track experience, Kicker, but if you do that, it feels pretty intuitive. Like, you hit, like, the sensation of speed's there, and sure, you can't really replicate that in a sim game, but like the feedback through the wheel and the pedals and stuff like that, it's all really, really intuitive. And like you're like, oh, okay, I'm sliding, so I counter steer. Oh, okay, I'm understeering, so I let out. And all those things work. So the fact that it sort of feels like that on the wheel, that's positive.
Yeah, definitely a step in the right direction. Definitely.
Absolutely. Huge step forward in that area.
However, can I just cut in here?
Go ahead.
Again, this is ramp mode engaged, okay? For me, you know how, like, every year, Dan Greenwell stands there at E3 and says, the thing about Forza is it's built from the ground up. Well, it's not though, is it, Dan? It's copy and paste from the previous game. So for the last 2 years, what have you been doing? Do you know what I mean? So a lot of these updates that come out now with the force feedback and track limits and things like that, the little tiny things, what have they been working on for the past 2 years? If a lot of it is copy and paste in the other two games, I mean, so a lot of these updates, as good as they are, and we appreciate them, don't get me wrong, but these could have been done a long time ago. That's my opinion. Rather than concentrating on licensing and putting a lot of fluff in the game and things like that, all they've added this year was just one more new track, which was Suzuka. Do you know what I mean? They've added like a bit of dynamic, which they borrowed from Playground Games. So what else have they been doing? That's my bugbear. They've always time to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? You take the community feedback on board over the past 10 years of Forza. So yeah, that's my opinion. A lot of these things should have been done from day one.
You got 10 years of community feedback and you come up with like 4 things plus some drift suspension. I mean, like, you're right. It's a lot of it. It seems like it's like gimmicky stuff to keep us entertained so we keep buying the game.
Yeah.
And they said they wanted to take a more motorsport direction, but I want to see that because they said it one week and then they brought us something very silly the next week. I can't remember.
Hot Wheels car pack.
That's right.
Yeah.
Motorsport focus, Hot Wheels car pack. I don't understand how those two correlate. Hot Wheels has not really had that much of like an appearance in professional motorsport before.
No.
Please be consistent.
Yeah. Keep Hot Wheels, limos, Gurkhas, things like that. Keep them in Horizon.
You got Forza Horizon. You got Forza Horizon.
Them in
it's
Horizon.
a successful game. Keep them there.
All I can think of is that they have certain like licensing criteria to meet. Do you know what I mean? To keep that Hot Wheels license to say, and do this. One of the some of the simplest things. I mean, how far? I know, Kicker, your Forza experience doesn't go back as far as mine, but like, if you ever played actually, you played it was Forza 4 your first game?
Yeah, Forza 4.
Yeah. Okay, so in Forza 4, I think it was. When you're racing, okay, I'm pretty sure there was a split time, a constant split time ahead and behind. The car had a car behind. Yeah,
I don't remember.
I don't remember
it's
that.
It's been a while since I've touched Forza 4.
If you go back,
yeah.
Yes, if you go back and play Forza 2, the first one that I ever played, right? Okay, you have penalties. You have savable lobbies. You have tuning in the lobby. You have proper split times. That was I can see he knows I'm right. I'm touching on all the things that he knows, and he's like 20 years younger than me, and he knows. A lot of the things that we brought this and done that, but you've taken so much away that was motorsport. Do you know what I mean? And simple things that aren't based on licensing, aren't based on making money, simple lap time, split time. I don't care like how many feet ahead the car in front is.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that in real motorsport, right? Where is there a guy like with like a ticker tape? Cars, do you know what I mean? Then write it down with a board. That's not motorsport. You ever see Formula 1 and say, oh, well, like Murray Walker saying, well, I think he's about 18,000 feet behind. It doesn't happen. A racing driver needs to know how far in terms of time.
Yeah, because like you don't know how, like, you rarely know like what part of the track. You're like, oh, I'm 1,300 feet into this lap. You have no idea. No idea.
Yeah. No idea. Oh, you don't have markers around the board saying like, oh yeah, this is the 15,000 feet marker.
Let's
This
not
is the
talk about
2,000
15,000 feet markers and stuff. Braking markers is just going to come out, and it's not going to be good.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Sorry.
my issue is that like they haven't they haven't even brought in everything that like it's taken them this long to get back to where Forza 6 was, and they're still not even there yet. Like, where are my grid walks?
Yeah.
I've been saying for like how long have I been saying, Jason, that I want the grid walk in the game? How long?
Since the start of Forza 7, so I think nearly a year ago.
Yeah, all the things that they added into Forza 6, then they just didn't implement into Forza 7. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
It seems like it's 2 steps forward. Oh, sorry, rather 10 steps backwards, 2 steps forwards, and it's like, oh, look at this new content they're bringing in. But it's like, no, it was there back in Forza 2, back in Forza 3, back in Forza 4. And I remember talking to somebody else that they posted a picture of a time attack car. If you know what a time attack car looks like, it's got all the crazy aerodynamics. And I was like, I wish you could build cars like that in Forza. And then someone goes, oh, you used to be able to do that kind of thing back in Forza 2. And I was like, why did you take that away?
10-year-old game. Yeah. Another thing that... Go on, Jay. You finished?
No, I was pretty much done. Yeah.
One of the things is like I streamed. I think for the 10-year anniversary of Forza 2, I streamed it a bit, and it was amazing. Just like in chat, it's like, wow, what they had this then? Where is it now?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the things, some of the cars that one of the things that I liked about Forza 2 was like some parts were a bit grindy, but there were certain cars you could only get by completing certain races. So there was an arcade mode and the time trial and the career mode and things like that. But to get a certain like unique tuner car, you had to like get all golds on on this track, for example. And there's the only way you can get that car. And they were very more in tune with with the car culture back then. There were no limos, there were no iSetters, there were no like
SUVs.
Yeah. There were no trophy trucks, things like that.
No Honda Odysseys.
They were all proper like racing cars. Do you know what I mean? Like the Mines, like R34 Skyline, beautiful iconic cars. Do you know what I mean? Which
Forza 4, the Unicorns cars back in Forza 4, they freaking nailed that. RX-7, Spirit R, those sort of things. Those like rare cars, like even the V-Spec. So like if you were to try and buy a V-Spec now, almost impossible. Like in real life, it's not possible. So I don't understand why you can't just have a base model R32 and then have a V-Spec to R32 that you can earn by, like you say, completing a certain time trial and getting that. The rewards now are pointless. Like I don't bother doing the hot lap challenges because I don't need those cars and I don't need those credits and I don't need the driver gear.
I already have them.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
And so like it's all good that all the game content is accessible, but then you sort of still want something to strive for.
Yeah, nothing to aim. Yeah, like, nothing to aim for.
And it's not gonna. Yeah, that's right. And it's like it's slightly cool to have such and such a car because you earned it.
Yeah. Totally. Like again, getting back to Gran Turismo. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember back on Gran Turismo 2 or 3, whatever it was, you have to do like a 3-hour endurance race or something to get the Toyota GT1.
Well, we had to do that in Forza as well in order to get certain cars from the to do the showcase events. It was like
the Ford GT.
81 laps of Sebring.
Yeah,
I did that.
I did that too.
I'm that. Yeah.
You're that guy.
yeah.
But it was worth it, though, wasn't it? It was worth it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than buying, getting out of a loot box at there, or getting it like as a random prize for ranking up.
Well, the problem with the loot boxes wasn't so much that it was a random prize, but it was inconsistent. Like you could get one car multiple times and it'd be pointless. Or like the specialty dealer, that was an okay idea, but then they became pointless because it was always the same cars, like on a 3-week rotation or something like that. It was pointless. You didn't get any cars that you wanted. You just got the same 3 cars, and you're like, well, I own these already. Like and now they're different cars and stuff like that, but you can buy everything, so it becomes a pointless adventure yet again.
Yeah.
It's
like. Go on, sorry.
I was just gonna shift gears to another topic because I got a couple other things. But go ahead, say what you're gonna say first.
There was a running joke when Forza 7 came out. I mean, it's like obviously they promote like we have over 700 cars in the game. Right, that doesn't make it a better game. We need more tracks. I mean, it became like the Pokemon of Forza. Got to drive them all. Do you know what I mean? It was like Forzamon. I mean, but no one cares about how. I've got 700 cars in my garage. No one cares. I mean, but are you a good racer? I mean, can you set good lap times? I mean, what's the highest drift score? Things like that. That's important. Not matter how many cars. I mean, what like freaking gingerbread man drivers are you wearing? Don't get that drivers.
I just saw Boken in the chat. He goes, "Hey, special vendors here," and I could just hear the voice in my head.
Oh my god.
Hey chat, hey Dan, hey Dozerox, hey Jacob, hey how you doing? Welcome.
Definitely welcome to all those guys. But I want to quickly say something positive about the game because we've been bashing it for the last 10-15 minutes good on. So like they do, like you said, drift scores and stuff like that. That's something they do better than most games is the drifting aspect. The drifting in this game is really, really good. And they support the community quite a lot. And that's quite good because that's a whole other it's still motorsport. They have Formula Drift and they have a lot of professional drift motorsport, and that's good. That's something that a lot of other games don't touch on that much.
Yeah.
But how many iSetters do you see in motorsport?
Car shows.
So sorry. I wanna shift gears to this. So we heard, this is just a rumor. We heard that Forza, and I actually said this, Jason, if you remember on a podcast, I don't remember when, but I said this, that they should introduce this if they're going to do Team Invite to Forza RC. We heard a rumor that Forza RC might be considering adding tuning to this year's RC. I think that if it's team-based and it's like they did in the Invitational where it was teams, like team scoring points, not individuals, I think that that's a great addition if they allow tuning.
Okay. So, I like this idea. I like where it's heading. But I'd like to touch on a few things that I think would improve that. And I think they should have a system, particularly for endurance racing, because endurance racing in Forza is really popular. Like, people love doing it. But it's really complicated at the moment. If it was simplified some way, like in, I think iRacing, they have a really good system where they can use the one car, but both drivers can sit inside that lobby and then trade places in that car. So they don't have to start a whole new lobby to change drivers. It's just easy swap. And that would improve that as well, because you could have a lot more endurance racing stuff and a lot more team-based stuff. So if teams started incorporating a tuner, like they in real life, motorsports have engineers that do that, and that will have a team of engineers that do that. And that would be really cool to see those guys get points for being in the RC,
Yeah. I mean, it does take away from the skill aspect a little bit, but
it's the skill of tuning. That's still a skill.
Right, and it brings in the tuners as well, but I think they should still, like I said, if they did the team part of it, like if they still have that individual competition like they did in the Invitational, that should be all stock, like for sure. Like they shouldn't touch that. I think that the RC itself should probably be stock, but if they wanted to introduce tuning, see how the community reacts, they should start it by introducing it to the team, like the whole team championship that they had in the preseason Invitational.
I mean, do you really think that the current format of RC works, where it's just a bunch of different cars and a bunch of different tracks? Like, do you think that's the style that RC should continue on, or should they take a more of a motorsport approach, kind of like GT Sport has, where you have an FIA season?
Motorsport.
Yeah, so like a more motorsport approach where they have like a season and they have a certain car. So you pick up like touring cars or DTM, or you pick a discipline.
DTM.
DTM. That's the German.
Yeah, I know
touring
DTM,
cars.
but it's not in Forza. I know. I'm just saying.
Well, hint.
But it used to be
DTM in the game. Bring it back. Exactly. So like that's the sort of thing I'm getting at. It is like, have like more. If they want to focus on motorsport, the way that Forza RC is run now, it's nothing like motorsport. It's more like competitive time attack. It's all like really weird competitive time attack with the same car. Like I don't know. It's really strange. Or like weird like track day club sport racing. It's just really odd. So if it was for me, I would have a specific disciplines even. So you could have a lot of drivers within the team, and all those drivers race different disciplines necessarily. So you have guys that are really good at GT3 cars, and you have guys that are really good at V8 supercars. And you have guys that are really good at front-wheel drive cars and stuff like that. So you could have all these different tiers of drivers, and you could have a much larger competition essentially.
Mm.
And that would have, I don't know, a larger audience because you have something for everybody.
Yeah, I would think. I think that I think we teased this on a podcast earlier as well, Jason. You and me, we talked about possibly incorporating like actual series instead of doing like what they're doing now. So like, what if they did a GT3 championship and you became like the Forza RC, GT3 champion.
GT3 champion, exactly. That's exactly what I was saying.
The potentially like a triple crown kind of thing, almost.
Yeah, and you could have multiple championships. Absolutely. I mean, and that would be really hard to do because you'd have those guys that specialize in that particular car. That's all they drive. And like we say that a lot in community racing, and you head into like, I don't know, say B class or something like that, and you've got that guy that's got all the B class tunes, and that's all he does is drive B class, and he's really good in that B class, and like you can't beat him because that's all he does. You'd have the same sort of thing in like Forza RC. You'd have those guys that only do touring cars front-wheel drive, and they're amazing at it. And so for someone to have multiple crowns like you're suggesting, very, very difficult.
Yeah, just like a real motorsport. Yeah, I think that would make it very interesting. And then, of course, that'd bring in the tuning aspect as well. So we'll see what they do this year. I don't know what they're specifically going to do, but...
Call me. I've got ideas.
We all have ideas.
That's the thing, though. The community, like people like us sat here, we have all these great ideas, and they don't involve licensing. They don't involve like changing like the game mechanics. It's just the way things are structured towards a more motorsport thing. For me, again, things like endurance races. I mean, there's no pit window set up. There's no fuel strategy. You don't pick your tires anymore. Do you know what I mean? And things
different
like,
tire compounds, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things like that. So
the pits are inconsistent as well. I was doing a GT endurance race and in hoppers. I came in 100 feet behind someone, and and I came out
as well.
let's just say
9 seconds.
Exactly. No, so I came in at one point on the track. When I came in, I was 100 feet behind him. I came out of the pits, and then when I came back around to that same point, I was 900 feet behind him. And I'm like, really, Forza? You screwed me in the pits that badly?
Well, I've had it even worse than that, where it's exactly like, so I'll enter the pits 150 feet in front of somebody.
And then they come out in front of you.
But when we leave the pits, we're neck and neck or they're in front. And I'm like, how the hell does that happen? Like,
wouldn't it be cool if you knew like how far ahead you were in time?
Yeah. But like, still 150 feet, like, you're probably about 0.8 of a second ahead of somebody entering the pits. How do they gain 0.8 of a second when it's an automated pit and I can't do anything to improve that?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you can't determine like how much fuel gets put in, things like that. I mean, it's just like it's a one you're in and then you're out, depending on what the game.
Yeah, and you get a full tank no matter what. And I think that's a missed opportunity there for that sort of physics to come into play.
Yeah,
yeah. And
if you knew how far behind the guy was in time,
you could have.
Yeah, you could
accurate.
judge. Oh, I'm going to be in the pits this amount of time. If you knew what, then you could formulate a strategy. Not in feet. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and the feet changes depending on where they are in a corner, how severe the corner.
Exactly. That's the worst part about it.
It's not accurate at all, and like you can't tell if you're gaining or losing a lot of the time, unless you're like heading down the straight, and you know you got a better run because they're not gaining on you.
Yeah.
Like it's silly.
In a positive way, that I like how they've changed the driver labels now in the game. So it's not all fluffy with like the crowns and the logos. It's when it's further off, it's just a position, gets closer, the tag, and it gets even closer, how far away in feet. That makes more sense. I mean, that does. I mean, at that instance, you don't need to know how far away in terms of time, because you should have that on the screen at the side of you.
But that's right.
Yeah.
And then the feet on the top of the car. That's great. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it made no sense when they had the crown and the driver collector score or something.
Like,
oh my god, I don't know.
Oh yeah, and they're the collector score, whatever. I just think the other thing they need to adjust is the sectors. The sectors don't make any sense. Some tracks have like 5 sectors, and then other tracks have like what, 1, 2, 3 sectors. Like, why can't they just use the sectors in real life that F1 uses on those? Like, and you don't have to set them up. And then, in terms of dirtying laps for the next lap, I don't know, figure it out.
I just want to know if they have different sectors between F1 and, say, GT3. I'm not too sure about that.
Well, the thing is, it's all over the place for every track. Like, it's...
So they can make... I was going to say, like, in real life, if F1 and GT3, which run on the same track, say... I can't think of a track that they both run on right now off the top of my head.
Monza.
But, yeah. Monza? Yeah, so Monza. So, do you know if they have the same sectors between those two disciplines?
Why would they not?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just wondering.
It's just timing it. But from my experience of playing like another racing game, Project Cars 2, for example, on their tracks there's only ever 3 sectors.
Yeah, okay.
On every track, there's only 3 sectors. It might change and say something like, as epic as I think even Le Mans have got 3 sectors.
Oh, okay.
I mean, maybe Nürburgring, Nordschleife might be something different, but maybe
I think that's
further research might be needed.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate too. I think iRacing has the same thing where it's only 3 sectors.
3 sectors, yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. Like having 3 sectors where and like it'd be cool if you could do the thing they do in I think Project Cars does it, where you can select a sector and just run that one sector to improve that sector.
Yeah,
all right.
That's cool. Yeah.
And they're laid out on the map, on the track map as well. It's laid out as it's loading. It says where your sector markers are, things like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Yeah, I like that.
That doesn't involve licensing. Do you know what I mean? No. It's like a turn 10 too proud to say, do you know what? That's a cool idea. We should use that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But then we'd be stealing off every other motorsport game ever. But we want to be a motorsport game. How can we be a motorsport game without being more like the other motorsport games?
Forza 2 had it all, and they took it away from us.
So
I mean, there's a lot to be said about Forza. Honestly, we could go on for the whole day.
But we love you.
Yeah, we do love you.
Yeah.
I mean, we love you. Yeah. We think you're gorgeous. But sometimes you think, why the frig did you do that? Why don't put that in the oven that way? No, don't. No.
You can't put outdated milk in the fridge. You just can't.
No,
Put it in there.
But I still love you. But why did you do that?
100%.
Yeah.
Why can't your socks make it into the wash basket? But don't worry, I love you.
So, FLG, I want to ask you, because you're a painter, and I know we have a couple painters in the chat as well. What kind of improvements do you want to see in the paint booth?
We don't have enough time for this.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah, we are running short on time. But what are some?
No, we do.
What are a couple that you want to see in short?
It's very in Forza 7, they've gone a long way to improve it quite a lot. I'm really impressed with what they've done in Forza 7. It'd be great to see them things transported into Horizon, which I'm sure they'll come at a later date. But for me, it's the selection of shapes. I'm not saying there needs to be more, but there needs to be different ones. There's some shapes that are in there that some of the streamers said, "Here it comes." The community, there needs to be more community, varied shapes. The library of shapes hasn't been updated since I think Forza 3. I don't think so. That's what, 8 years worth.
I was gonna say it looks the same as Forza 4 from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does the same.
There's little things that like to see, like for example, if you get a shape, if you get a square, for example, okay, at the moment you can only skew it this way, rather than the top of the square, bottom of the square. You can only skew it this way. You can't skew it this way. Okay, you can't free from. What's hand up for?
You can.
I was gonna ask a question.
You can just rotate it, and then
yeah, I was gonna say if you skew it this way, you could just.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. You know, you're right. You can rotate it. Yeah, that's fine. But then it doesn't. Oh, it's hard to explain. That's a good question, but it's.
If you have an odd shape like a heart or something. Is what
Yes,
you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I feel you on that. So square was the wrong.
Yeah. But it would save a lot of time. Do you know what I mean? If you could skew it this way as well as that way, you can't freeform transform a group. Does that make sense? So if you get a bunch of squares,
it only goes bigger or smaller. You can't.
Yeah, it's just uniform. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't skew that either. So let's say you've made this. So some of the way the geometry works, and the way that the mapping works on cars in Forza, it's like the car's in a box. Yeah. Okay. You put a shape, and it kind of like transplants that shape if it was flat across the entire car. This is where GT Sport have got it right, because the shapes that you manipulate, you can choose whether it maps to the camera angle, yeah, which is what it is in Forza, or it maps to the contours of the geometry.
That's really cool.
Yeah, GT Sport have nailed it in that way. So if you want to paint on, like, say, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say like the wheel arch of, like, say, the Audi TT, the new one, yeah. On Forza, I think part of the wheel arch is classed at the top of the car.
Yeah.
So you can you're doing design, and it's the best example is the 2015 GTR. The rear quarter panel, the part above the wheel arch, that's classed as the top of the car. So you can't stretch a shape over that geometry. In GT Sport, you can. I mean, so that needs to be looked at. Is the way that the paintable areas are mapped on the car. I know there's 700 cars, blah blah blah. It's a ball ache to do. Some cars do it better than others. But for me,
I was gonna say, I know that like some cars with like a lot of contours, like GT3 cars, some like McLaren P1 GTR, P1 itself, because there's so many contours. Some of the things are very strange. Where like if you go to paint one area, it'll come up in like the front of the hood, or like
yes. Oh god, yeah.
Oh, the 4GT,
and like the front
dude.
bumper.
Yeah.
You were saying like for like the contours of the car and like the camera angle, like the front of the car particularly with like the grills and all that, like it stretches the shape, and if you're trying to put words or logos there, it becomes impossible.
Exactly.
And
But if you could like if you could like freeform deform the shapes. So let's say I made the Bridgestone logo, okay, but I want to like I put it on, say, like the front of the Audi R8 LMS under the headlights. Because I can't shrink it, I could shrink it uniformly. The way the mapping works, if I had more control of it, if I could shrink it just that way, I could use that shrink effect to make it look like it's wrapped. It's really hard to explain, but
that makes sense. That was a good effort.
Yeah, but the way groups are used, it'd be nice if you could like freeform transform groups. People want to have like you should be able to control the transparency of a group. Which now the way Forza works is because it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. If you try and change the transparencies of all of them together, it's going to look shit because like they're going to get all the overlaps. It ain't going to work. That's a harder thing to do from a development point of view than it is right now. Materials. You can't have different materials for the shapes. So you can't have a matte car and then glossy shapes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That does. And that'd be really cool to have that. And whenever I see a car that's managed to do that, like they'll put a gloss paint on and then try and use gradient shapes and different levels of transparency to make it. Yeah.
But if you look at some of the cars that are in game, like so like the Ken Block's Unicorn, for example, it's a matte finish, but some of the black details are glossy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so the system can do it, but
Yeah.
just don't do it in there. If you could, something else, really important. Oh, the lighting, for example.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
lighting,
I've heard about this actually.
Yeah. They nailed it in the previous version. Forza 6, painting that all day. I mean, because the lighting's fine. For some, again, this is about the fluff that Forza has. In the painting booth at the moment, it's outside. They have the moving clouds. Although they've got to have moving clouds, it's got to reflect. It doesn't have to reflect the environment when you're painting. It really doesn't. It's just fluff, unnecessary fluff. Also, they use to make it look nice. When you go from one thing to another, there's a bit of a fade, which takes like a few frames. Now, again, it's unnecessary. It looks kind of nice initially because like painting's a casual thing, but as you know, painting's become more and more the forefront. FRC, for example, the libraries, the work that the guys put in there. Do you know what I mean?
That's a key to looking.
Things.
That's a key to making Forza RC look legitimate. Is having nice liveries on the cars.
Exactly. When I was at Forza RC this year, like this is no disrespect to the person that created them, because they had a lot of default libraries to do. But if you look at the Le Mans libraries, the final layer, me and another guy created those, and every car looked like a racing car.
Yeah, they looked mint.
Thank you.
They looked really professional.
They had numbers on. They were different. Each number had a different color scheme. It was the same core design. I know that this year sponsorships, things like that, but the default libraries weren't really. If I was new to esports, okay, if I was like an esports in another like genre, and thought, I'm going to come and check this esports out of Forza. I mean, and I see this car that's grey with a switch on the sky and then a box on the back. I'd be like, especially if I come from a motorsport background as well. You know, there needs to be. I'm going off a tangent again, but just getting around to the FRC. GT Sport again does this right. Okay, any race that's online, okay, your number board is set. Okay. You this set. Do you know what I mean? You have a window banner across the thing with the GT Sport logo. Every car looks like a race car. So no matter what you put underneath it, them parts of spec. iRacing does the same thing. Yeah. They ultimately, ideally, I don't want to be painting race car liveries. There should be a system in place in the game that should take care of that for me. Do you know what I mean? So like, what number are you? Oh, my number's 74. That's fine. What are your favourite colours? These favourite colours. You choose from a set number of templates. Do you know what I mean? You know, then you wouldn't have to have, you know, people like me and other these awesome painters spending so much time making individual like team libraries. I know that's part of the thing. I know that's on a bit of a tangent from what I'm trying to say. Creating multiple libraries for a team, for example. Okay, let's say I'm like so I've painted for F4H before, okay, and and other various teams. There's certain core things that are motorsporty that Forza could do, which would make my job a lot easier and make it look professional on broadcast as well. Okay, so
numbers,
exactly,
banners.
yeah. If you, I tweeted about this a while ago. So, like, if you watch any IMSA racing series, you watch any Blancpain or WEC racing series, all their number boards have been in a specific place. Their core sponsors have been in a specific place on the car. Forza could do that. They could do that. They could upload the whatever decal, whatever sponsor they deem it is, you know, like Bubba Burgers or Placey or whatever, upload to the game. So this is the design for FRC. Has to have this here. This is a template. Everything else underneath it, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
But it's little things. Again, they need people like me, like the community, other painters to say, right, okay, this is what we're proposing for FRC next year. This is how the library system is going to work. Do you think this will work? Or what is your input on this? Do you know what I mean? Rather than last minute give me a call saying, hi, yeah, we need 72 libraries in a week. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot of things that I would like to change, but that could be a whole podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people in the chat, a lot of painters are on the same wavelength as what I am.
Yeah.
Does that mean so?
Really quickly, because we're running very short on time.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. This is awesome. So how did you get into Forza? Origin story time. How did you get into Forza? How did you get into painting? And how did you get awesome at painting?
Okay, do I have music for this? Are you sitting comfortably? So basically, I was PlayStation through and through. Okay, so PS1, I modified my PS1 so I could play the import version of Gran Turismo, the first one. Okay, so PS1, PS2. Then when the PS3 came out, I heard that GT Sport was going to be delayed, so I bought a 360. I saw the trailer for Forza Motorsport 2, and I thought, wow, that's exactly what I want. Got the game, started playing it. This is everything that the Gran Turismo had and didn't have at the time. And then I didn't get I painted a few cars in there, but the main reason that I started to paint cars was I was sick of watching the replays and having seen like lime green cars and metallic black cars, and it didn't look like a race. Do you know what I mean? So, but back then, again, due to licensing or whatever, Forza Motorsport 2 had like a massive library of like sponsor logos. I mean, huge library of sponsor logos. Literally like 4 times what it's got now. I know that's licensing, but that's where it goes. So basically, I want the cars that I raced in to look like they belong on the track. Do you know what I mean? Then 3 and 4. It was only Forza 5 where I started doing it, and obviously with the internet then and social media, I started sharing my designs on Twitter. So a guy called Stella Stig, he liked what he saw. So I did a video. I did a design for him. They made a YouTube video about it. Then I got a message from Forza Motorsport saying, "Hey, we like your stuff, blah 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 blah," and it escalated from there. So I started doing more and more and more. But for me, I like to make cars look like they belong on track. That's the main reason why I do it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's these great guys.
I like that.
Yeah. Because it's motorsport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest is history. Really. I mean, like I've been lucky enough to be invited to certain events this year and last year. I've been so privileged. For a guy that like throws shapes on cars, I can't thank Forza enough for this amount of support they're giving me to a degree. Don't get me wrong. As much as they need to fix certain things, there's certain things that they do right. And yeah, but it's mainly making cars look like race cars. People like Stuzzy B, Fox, Wildcat, numerous people that had produced works of art on cars, like Stuzzy B's Forza Horizon 4, Fortune Island one recently on the Lamborghini Urus, looks amazing. But for me, it's not something that I put on a car because it's not a race car. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The talent is amazing. I'm not trying to dissuade from that at all because I respect him. Them guys have so much talent. But for
Graphic
me,
design in spades.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
But like you said, there's a certain talent to making a race car look like a race car, and it's not being able to put somebody's face on the side of the race car in photogenic accuracy.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like the positioning of gradient shapes and kind of just contrast and stuff like that really work.
Just looks like it belongs on the track. Yeah.
Yeah, research.
That's right.
So like I did a lot of research into like just using Google Images. So like just making sure that the tire logo is where it would be. I mean, you wouldn't have like Yokohama and Toyo on the same car, for example. Just little things like that just make it just like it's not a replica to a degree, but it looks like it belongs on track. You know what I mean? And then I started like using the brands that I like in real life and thinking, oh, that logo looked pretty cool in the car. Let's put that on a car. So like Logitech, Astro, things like that, and then it went from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you never see like GCG turbos next to Garrett turbos. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of consistency that makes it look like it belongs on track. And when you look at it, you're like, that's not just like a wish list. It's like a race car, and it looks sponsored.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think iRacing, there's a particular series I watch, and it's the V8 Supercars Online Premier Series, and the liveries they have in that are perfect because those teams are sponsored by actual companies in real life, and they use those sponsors on the car, and it looks like a real V8 supercar grid. It looks amazing. Yeah,
because certain brands and certain sponsors, they have certain criteria. So I did a lot of research into like some brands, for example, they have like brand guidelines on their website. It's normally a PDF, and it'll show you what spacing you're allowed to have. These are the RGB colours that it needs to be. This logo will only ever be in this colour on this background, for example. So following them guidelines, I mean that adds to the accuracy, which is what I'm known for. I know I haven't done much recently. I've not been that active recently, but
get yourself a pace car paint for Gallardo's on Thursday.
I should, yeah, you're right. I should do, you're right, but obviously with my foot being like it is, I've been focused on other things.
Yeah.
But I do aim to get more into it as time goes on. I mean, back into it again. You know, it's been nice having a break through the Forza RC. I got a lot of requests from a lot of teams. That took up a lot of my time. I'm enjoying the break right now. But once Forza RC comes back, I'm hoping that they come to me and say, "This is what we'd like to do." Not just me, but other people in the community. I mean, because like it takes a lot of time to get the libraries to look how they look. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think I tweeted out saying like it'd be nice to see if Forza like try to show appreciation for the library designers. And I think it was kind of misinterpreted a little bit. Sometimes I didn't mean like we want to be rewarded for doing it, but just like
make the game easier for you. You want it to be styled, streamlined for your interest.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they could do which take less time, make it look more professional than they could do. Rather than like Gfinity giving the car list out a week before the event.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for you. You want it to be easier to paint them and more fun for you. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
So people like GTR and people like they had like a week to paint like 12 cars for 12 different. And also cars that wouldn't be used. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Because of the whole voting system, painters would paint cars that would never see light of day. You know what I mean? So again, this is back to the whole Forza RC thing. Scrap the whole voting system. We know why you do it for mixer and interaction things like that, but no one really cares. Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, I think that would tie in with something like I was saying before, where if they changed the format for Forza RC and just had a whole bunch of different disciplines, those are cars people are going to race. So if they see your livery on X car, it's going to get used.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, instead of using all these like random as hell cars throughout the Forza RC that people don't really use all that often, you're not going to see those cars a lot in multiplayer because no one wants to race. Well, not no one wants to race, but it's not as common to race a lot of those cars because they're not as competitive in those class racing, like in S class and stuff like that. You'll never see. I can't think of anything specific right now, but okay, for example, C class, you'll never see the grand. What's it called? There was a black. Man, I'm just losing my mind right now. Grand Am. It's the wrong word. I don't think it's the Trans Am. The GNX.
Oh,
Buick
GNX.
Yeah. So the GNX, the Buick GNX, never gets used because it's not competitive in that class. So you make a paint for it. It looks fantastic while you're in the Forza RC. Never gets used again. It's pointless. If you had like select disciplines, and like you had select discipline leagues or something like that, instead of having the leagues where you have them now, those paints would be transferable, and you would see them a lot more, and you would get a lot more recognition. So I could see where you're going with that, and it would totally make sense for it to all gel like that. But whatever, that's just some random YouTubers ranting.
But again, though, back on to like the potential reformatting of FRC. It's like if they want to keep it more motorsport, like they want to, like they're gearing up towards,
like they're quoted to.
They're quoted to, yeah. Then like you don't see like Vettel like and Aaron like, oh, I don't know what tracks I'm racing next year. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why keep the tracks and the cars so secret until the last minute? Do you know what I mean? A good racing driver can race anything in anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Why does it have to be, GT3 races? Do you know what I mean? Super and people they know what car they're racing. They know what tracks they're attending for the entire year, so then they can prepare for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Randomness.
Having the randomness is very strange, and like it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So if you had select track lists for select racing disciplines, but you'd see a lot closer racing, to be honest, as well. Like you wouldn't just have Lage and Lightning, who are very gifted racers, no doubt. But then you'd see guys like like Racers himself, or some of the guys coming through the field that have been able to put practice into that specific discipline so they can be competitive. You know what I mean? And like they know what tracks are coming up, so they can put a lot of practice in. And it's not like the real racing drivers don't do that anyway. They play sim games as well. They have their sim rigs and they have their VR and they do memorizing things and stuff like that. And they watch countless hours of onboard footage and stuff.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
better
they know
racing
what they're
for
doing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's better racing
Oh
for it.
God.
Yeah. All right.
It's really upset right now. A lot of emotions.
This is awesome, but we're out of time. So,
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, so that was awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks again for coming on the show, man. We appreciate it.
No
That was a
worries.
lot of good stuff. Guys, Thursday we're gonna be live with the Gallardo Super Cup Championship finale from Spa right here on Off the Track. We'll also be streaming. We'll also be streaming to Twitch and on the Legion channel and to
Periscope.
Twitter on Periscope. So make sure you tune in for that. It's gonna be awesome. FLG is going to be in the chat as well. He's going to be tuning in. So you guys are not going to want to miss that. I mean, here's just a list of the drivers that are going to be in the race. You can see it on your screen now. I see a couple of them are actually in the chat today. So super excited about that. Can't wait. Again, guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe. You'll get more content like this and follow us on Twitter. But thanks again, man. This was really good. Pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, take it easy.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you Thursday.